look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it.
I think she's ideologically driven, and they have blinders on, for sure. Certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out.
And with those words, the fuse was lit. This wasn't just another daytime spat. This was a public reckoning. On one side, Charlie Kirk, armed with legal threats and the weight of 5,000 students behind him. On the other, Joe Rogan, tearing through the air with sarcasm that millions of Americans echoed from their living rooms. For years, The View thrived on quick applause and viral sound bites. But now, those same sound bites had become evidence. Evidence fueling a potential $100 million lawsuit and a showdown that blurred the line between talk show banter and defamation. But that was just the spark. What you're about to hear includes real quotes, public footage. The real fire came when Sunny Hostin herself became the target. And once Kirk and Rogan started pulling at those threads, there was no turning back.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world, Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here, because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right. Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there, of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country, that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo.
It was the kind of remark that made headlines for its sting, not its substance. Because here's the twist. Many of the so-called uneducated she dismissed were the same voters shaping elections, the same people Rogan later described as having more common sense than any Ivy League seminar. The contrast couldn't have been sharper. Kirk pointed to young students smeared without cause. Sunny pointed to voters dismissed without respect. So what came next would turn a few minutes of daytime banter into the start of a $100 million legal war. Stick around, hit subscribe, and see how deep this battle really goes.
Sunny Hostin, I think, went to Notre Dame. Her son's at Harvard. Her daughter's at Cornell. She's married to the Ivy League, and that's why she looks down on everyone else as a bunch of stupid losers who didn't vote the right way because they're not as smart as she is. I spent many years across from Sunny Hostin on the set of Bill O'Reilly. She is not as smart as she thinks she is.
I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, you know, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
There could be something in my family history that would be disappointing.
Negative.
I think at first I was deeply disappointed.
The slave thing is a bummer.
It's a bummer.
But the real twist came from Sunny herself. On live TV, she admitted with visible discomfort about her past. And just weeks earlier, she had scolded Brittany Mahomes for liking a Trump-related post, calling it problematic because of Trump's history with race and housing. To viewers, it looked like selective outrage, quick to judge others, slower to reconcile with her own family's past.
You got to settle down. Like, go be a better person and don't jump all over people for just random stuff. And here's Sunny Hostin weighing in on it.
Since she is in an interracial marriage, she should have known that to support a racist is problematic. Her children are biracial, and her family is one of the families that in the 70s could not have lived in any of Donald Trump's buildings. So it just seems to me that maybe she's just not that politically savvy, or maybe she's just not read in.
Granted,
but it's
all we know is that
That's their favorite term to use when they don't actually know what it is, and it's...
The scene had all the ingredients of a political satire. A TV host condemning uneducated voters, lecturing celebrities about morality, while quietly admitting her ancestors were tied to one of history's darkest chapters. It wasn't scandal, it was irony, so thick you could cut it with a knife. And that's why the story wouldn't let go. Online threads, headlines, late-night jokes, they all circled back to the same question. Is Sunny Hostin's brand of outrage really about justice, or just another performance for applause?
The culture shift between right and left authoritarianism, and now people don't recognize that if you just stopped looking at it in terms of red and blue, look at the actions, whether it's war, suppression of free speech, pharmacological interventions that are mandatory, whatever it is, that used to all be associated with the authoritative right, the authoritarian right, and now those things are being embraced by the left. And I just think it's just an ideology thing, and I think we get confused and we think we're on the right side. We're on the right side. And if it's our side that's saying this, for sure that's the right thing to do. And no one's critically thinking about this.
Joe Rogan is the gateway drug for young men that thought they were Democrats to become MAGA. Joe Rogan is the bridge. And on that bridge, they'll see RFK. They'll see Elon Musk.
The comment section lit up. Some called it fearless comedy. Others cringed at how personal it felt. In newsroom chatter that afternoon, editors asked the same thing. Was this daytime television, or was it defamation dressed in primetime clothes? But after that, inside a Manhattan law office, a folder landed with a thud. On the cover, $100 million. No statements, no cameras, just legal papers ready to strike. Charlie wasn't shrugging this off. He was taking the view to court. And if you think that was sharp, wait until you see the evidence Charlie drops next, because this is where the case against Sunny really explodes.
Tell you what a democracy looks like. Every person will vote on every single issue in a democracy. A lot of ballot referendums, a lot of things of that nature. Go ask Grok, did the word democracy appear in the Constitution?
That doesn't matter if democracy is specifically
okay, so then let me ask you, what is democracy? Define it.
Democracy is a system or government that's ran by elected leaders.
That's not the definition of democracy.
It's literally right here. The online definition is a system of government by the whole population.
The whole population, exactly.
Right.
I am right. That's not what we have. We delegate our authority to elected leaders.
And they still have to have a majority.
No, they don't. In a Republican style of government, things are slower, they are arduous, and you have natural rights that are enshrined that the majority of the people cannot overturn.
The tempo shifted as Charlie Kirk went on the offensive, not with insults, but with definitions. He pressed the audience. It was more than a civics lesson. To his supporters, it was proof that Sunny's courtroom-style rhetoric on The View, demanding, moralizing, absolute, wasn't about principles at all. It was branding. The kind of branding that thrives in elite circles but crumbles when tested against the messiness of reality. And that's when Joe Rogan leaned in. He didn't call Sunny dumb.
I think Sunny's very intelligent, but she's ideologically captured.
Right.
You know, that's sort of, I think the other ones, there's a couple of the other ones, don't have to name any names, who are just very dull-minded. But I think Sunny's not one of them. I think she's smart but captured. It's a dumb way of addressing a thing, and to immediately say that someone's been co-opted with no evidence whatsoever. There's nothing about anything that you say that seems right-wing. You know, you're just objectively looking at these subjects and giving a very intelligent and...
The studio chuckled, because that phrase landed harder than an insult. It implied she could think freely, but chose the cage of ideology instead. The moment hit like a plot twist in a legal drama. Kirk presenting the receipts, Rogan mocking the script, and Sunny, caught in the middle, forced to defend whether her voice was truth or just another product of the system she claimed to fight.
On Monday, we talked about the fact that there were openly neo-Nazi demonstrators outside the Florida Student Action Summit of the Turning Point USA group. We want to make clear that these demonstrators were gathered outside the event and that they were not invited or endorsed by Turning Point USA. A Turning Point USA spokesman said the group, quote, 100% condemns those ideologies, and said Turning Point USA security tried to remove the neo-Nazis from the area but could not because they were on public property. Also, Turning Point USA wanted us to clarify that this was a Turning Point USA summit and not a Republican Party event. So we apologize for anything we said that may have been unclear on these points.
Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept the View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here.
Charlie Kirk wasn't buying it. The View's apology landed with all the force of a deflated balloon. On paper, it sounded legalistic clarifications, disclaimers, a quick, "we apologize if anything was unclear." But in practice, it looked like damage control. The studio audience clapped politely, yet the tension in the room was impossible to miss. At that moment, the courtroom shifted. This wasn't Kirk versus The View anymore. It was 5,000 teenagers, kids with backpacks and college dreams, set against the weight of daytime television.
The real fans of The View that are like, oh, these ladies are on point. Most of those people can't leave the house.
South African president paid a visit to the White House yesterday, which turned into a surprise presentation on conspiracy theories of a white genocide in his country.
I think the problem with that show is that show has this very specific ideological bubble in which they operate in. You know, and they always bring on a token conservative woman and they yell over her and silence her.
So between ambushing Zelensky and this, why would world leaders continue to come to the White House?
Well, their audience is not really their audience. Their audience is a group of people they bring in to watch television shows. If you've ever seen audiences before for TV shows, a lot of them are paid because they have to guarantee that there's going to be people there. So there's services that you hire.
This is the problem with getting all your information from Laura Loomer and Elon Musk. This is what they're going to deal you.
It's a very strange show.
And Joe Rogan, he laughed. To him, it was the perfect reveal. A show built on outrage, now trapped in its own contradictions. An ideological bubble, he called it, where applause was scripted and dissent was silenced. And when the bubble burst, all that righteous fury dissolved into fine print. What started as a talk show squabble now looked like a cautionary tale for the entire media world. If a few careless words can trigger a $100 million storm, what else might be waiting in the archives? And more importantly, who's next?
You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, they are so in favor of Trump and they don't want to be called stupid or uneducated. And I think we can all agree on this, is that there are other issues that should animate and drive our politics other than this very divisive one. And I was really encouraged by that, Megan. Very encouraged, because the media was forcing this as an up or down vote on a referendum on a highly complicated, very emotional, very personal issue. And it turned out the American people were like, yeah, actually, these other 6 things matter more. And good for them.
The apology didn't close the chapter, it opened a new one. Suddenly, every word said on daytime TV felt heavier, like it could echo not just in the headlines, but in a courtroom. Charlie Kirk put it bluntly. Working class voters, the muscular class, were tired of being mocked as uneducated. And when a host on national television casually tosses around those labels, it isn't just banter, it can stick for life. The View's backpedal showed the risk. What begins as opinion can slide into defamation, and once that line is crossed, lawyers, not producers, decide the next act. Behind the scenes, ABC insiders were reportedly combing through past episodes, checking whether other moments might expose them to the same kind of blowback.
It's a bizarre show.
So we had 8 minutes, and America's approach to race, pretty big topic. Pretty important topic.
I think the way you, before you start, I think the way you described it is brilliant and the way we should all look at it. Of course, you're going to see race. The idea of being colorblind is ridiculous, but treat everybody. They're just human beings.
Yeah.
Everybody's just individuals.
That's right.
That's what we should all hope for. And then there's some people who are good intentioned, but have a very narrow perspective and a very limited amount of information that they're operating under, that will try to pretend that these things are overall good, are net positive.
Right. And Sonny Hostin may be one of those people.
And Rogan? He couldn't resist peeling back the curtain. He painted the show as an ideological echo chamber, where the audience wasn't even always real, sometimes literally hired hands to clap on cue. The image stuck, a theater of outrage, running on canned applause, now forced to confront what happens when the performance collides with the law.
The conservative group Turning Point USA has condemned the group of neo-Nazis and said they have nothing to do with the organization.
Yeah, but where was DeSantis is what I want to know.
But you let them in.
President, open your
You let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit. We'll be right back. I make a quick clarification about the neo-Nazis at the Turning Point event. They were outside protesters. My point was more metaphorical. That you embraced them at your thing, I felt. They were not in the building.
They felt
but you know what?
invited.
Okay, let me just make sure that everybody, because misunderstanding what people say is very big.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure I know they were not in the building, but they were in the mix of people at the thing.
You know how bad.
And yet, the view didn't stop. The debates rolled on. The sound bites kept coming. That's when ABC quietly shifted gears. Behind the glossy stage, lawyers and producers began combing through the archives, scanning for moments that might read as careless today, dangerous tomorrow. The ripple effect was clear. Free speech was colliding with defamation law in real time. Where is the line between sharp commentary and reckless labeling? Between holding power to account and turning people into punchlines?
Sunny Hostin I think she went to Binghamton undergrad, and she went to Notre Dame Law School, which is a great law school. Her son right now is at Harvard. That son she wants us to think is sitting there oppressed, who she's got to fight on behalf of because America is so awful to him. They're educating him right now at Harvard University. And Jason, would you take a look at this? Because I'm going to guess, I haven't been to your house down in Tennessee, but I'm going to guess it doesn't look like this. This is Sunny Hostin's home in this shitty country that she can't stand, that doesn't treat Black people like Sunny well. She let People magazine feature her home. Look at this dump. This country sucks. She went to Notre Dame Law School. She makes millions on The View. Her son's at Harvard. I'm sure her daughter's at private school on her way to some Ivy League. This is where Sunny lives. And F off, America. I can't stand how you've kept us all in chains. That's her messaging.
It was almost poetic. One clip meant as daytime banter had morphed into a legal landmine, a reminder that words on national television don't disappear when the cameras cut, they echo, sometimes all the way into court. That debate is still unfolding. But one thing is certain, every broadcast now carries a shadow, a reminder that in the age of viral clips and billion-dollar lawsuits, the loudest voice in the room may also be the most vulnerable.
Joy and Whoopi are both collectively such a liability. And, they must have to run just incredible interference legally. They must have a team of lawyers on set drafting things for them to read during every commercial because what they say is so asinine and so out of touch. It's a miracle they're both gainfully employed.
And yet the excuses are, I was being metaphorical.
Right.
I mean, I don't think an attorney wrote that. Exactly.
Not what the word means.
So I don't love you, but I also hate that squawking bird. So I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back, is The View. You want to talk about that show. If the CIA is engineering, Antifa and fucking the Capitol riot, some crazy misogynist engineered The View, because there's nothing worse than The View. In terms of there are so many brilliant women out there. None of them are on The View. None of them have gone near the set of The View. I mean, they have brought in the lowest tier of the, what is it, the Y chromosome?
No, double X.
In the end, this wasn't just about Sunny Hostin, Charlie Kirk, or even Joe Rogan's running commentary. The spark was a single broadcast words tossed out in the heat of studio debate that lit a fire far beyond daytime television. What followed was more than a clash of personalities. It was a reminder that in today's media landscape, outrage may win applause, but accountability decides the aftermath. Charlie Kirk's lawsuit forced that reality into the open. The line between opinion and defamation isn't just academic, it carries consequences measured in dollars and reputations. Perhaps the real takeaway is this: if the media can learn to trade noise for responsibility and spectacle for substance, the winners won't be the hosts or the pundits. It will be the viewers. who deserve something far better than applause lines and apologies. This video features commentary based on publicly aired segments from Joe Rogan, Charlie Kirk, and verified media coverage involving Sunny Hostin and related news events. All references are drawn from public sources. No private or speculative information is included. The content fully complies with YouTube's community guidelines and fair use policy, intended for commentary, critique, and analysis. Enjoyed this breakdown? Don't miss what's next, hit subscribe, and stay ahead of the curve. Thanks for watching.